Welcome to Cosmic Connections 101, a podcast by two sisters speaking about all things related to personal growth, self-love, and spirituality. Join us every episode as we discuss the secrets of the universe, energetic connections, consciousness, and navigating the 3D world with a 5D mindset. Take a deep breath in and out. Now let's get started.
Hey pod people, this is Jo.
I'm Kel, and this is Cosmic Connections 101.
Oh man, I just had a tech glitch. I didn't hear any of the first bit, so
I
couldn't join
just
you.
said Cosmic Connections 101.
Yeah, it's Cosmic Connection disconnecting over here, but reconnected
Mate, we
now.
still haven't nailed our intro. We'll get
Look,
there.
I think it's hilarious the way it is.
So, Jody, today what are we talking about?
We're talking about parenting our young ones in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Obviously, this hits home for me because I didn't have the safest environment to talk about situations, spirit stuff, experiences when I was really little.
Yeah, so you wanted to make sure that Kiara was very comfortable coming to you with stuff, not shutting it down.
Yeah, like if I just wanted a different environment, but that's not to say even that, any spiritual stuff would happen to her, but like if it did, which it definitely did. So just to do it in a different way. I mean, like all of us just want to do a little bit better and have a different environment for our kids. We learn from our experience, not to say, all of ours are shit and that, because we love our folks. They all do the best they can.
And we are who we are
because you only know what you know.
That. Yeah, exactly. So how about you started off then by talking about my niece and how old she is and all,
She just turned 18, and you'll be happy to know I did ask her permission to tell stories and have her featured in the podcast without actually her being on the podcast, and she was very happy to do that.
She would have said it would have been a hard no for her to be a guest.
Yeah. Kiara's she's not a super fan of the outside world, but she's happy to share this stuff because this is how we live our life. I mean, just yesterday, right? She felt a bit crook, and she was having a bit of maybe a bit of a panic and a bit of anxiety after opening up her first little business, and she felt really sick. So instantly she's got her own crystals in the room. She's like you, Kel. She's a crystal person. She does her own healing.
But it's so good that she's learned how to use her tools, and to just when she knows that something's coming on that doesn't feel comfortable.
Yep.
It's like, all right, bring the tools out,
how to heal it in the body.
Yeah, in the motion. In the moment.
Yeah, that's it. I think actually I might start with just when she was actually maybe I should just talk about just even her name. The spirit stuff started happening even before she was on the earth.
Yeah.
Before she was earthside. So me and her dad couldn't think of a name that was just right for her. I always knew her middle name was going to have something to do with the cosmos, of course. But her first name, we just couldn't think of anything. I wanted an Aboriginal name. No Bunjalung names like sort of resonated for me, which is our people. So I just sort of let it go into the cosmos, and I was at Mum and Dad's one arvo, just hanging out with Sarah, our white cockatoo, out the backyard, and she's dancing around, showing off. And then I just had this download from her, Kiara, and I'm like, ooh, I like that name. I go look it up, and it's it means like dark warrior in the Celts. And I was like, I really like it. I told her dad, he's like an instant yes.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we'll do that. And it wasn't until after she was born, a couple of weeks later, I was at uni, and one of the Nuttingjetty ladies from our class from South Australia, she's like, oh, what's your daughter's name? And I'm like, oh, it's Kiara Star. And she's like, Kiara. She goes, the Western Australian mob, that's an Aboriginal word for them. It means the white cockatoo. I'm like, mate, so you never doubt.
Yeah.
The ancestors have provided me what I need for my kid when needed. And I was just, as usual, like we were talking about in the last episode, you're just mind blown. Every time something amazing comes to fruition, you're just like gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Couldn't get any more crazier than that for me.
It's so funny that you have that story, because mine is like a similar story with my son. So his name's Cohen, and he just turned 16. And so when he was when I was pregnant, I didn't have any, like, I didn't know he was a boy. but I didn't have any girls' names. It was always just Cohen, and I don't know why. Like, I don't remember ever even discussing it with his dad. It was just like we both like, this is his name, and it means thunder. And so when Cohen was actually born, there was a huge thunderstorm.
Thunderstorms.
And he was born, during a thunderstorm. And I just thought that was the craziest thing, where it's like you're welcome to the world, through a thunderstorm.
Connected.
And your name means that.
Connected to your name in so many ways that we didn't even know.
No, exactly.
You didn't know you were having a boy, or did?
No, I didn't
want to find out.
Well, I wanted to find out, but then the day that we went for the scan, he was facing away. And then after that, I was just like, I don't want to find out, because I'm like, you don't have any surprises in life, you know? So like, this is one surprise that is a huge surprise. So I'll just leave it.
Did you have a feeling, Kel?
Yeah. I knew he was
You always thought it was a boy.
And that's why I didn't really search for a girl's name, because I knew he was a boy. But then it's like, okay, if it was a girl, she would have been nameless for a couple of weeks, you know?
Yeah, that's it. Like, God, I just had like a panic attack. I turned around and Kiara's standing right there. And Kel are doing our podcast. But
yeah, it's so funny though, you know, with Kiara, it's like you're living a second childhood, like, you know, with me, because we're 9 years apart, so we didn't really spend much of my childhood together, and it was easy for you to just ignore me in a way because like of the age gap. But Kiara is like so much like me, more so than you, even to like right down to our 16 personalities test result. Like, we're both the INFJA, which is 1% of the population. So
I'm so blessed to have both of you.
Yeah, like we're that, you know, much alike that you kind of have to deal with.
Yeah, I'm doing it again.
Via.
I know, it's so crazy. But like what you were saying about Cohen, like I was the same. Like, I wanted a boy because I thought, oh God, I'm a tomboy. Like, I'd get along much better with a boy, I reckon. But then instantly I was like, oh God, they're sending me a girl.
Which is so funny too, because I'm very girly and feminine, and I'm like, I get the boy who he's a boy. Yeah, like growing up, it was always funny because, you know, he wants to smash trucks together and I want to drive them gently next to each other in a nice, you're trying to like define
wipe
order.
Off his shoes to keep it clean, and he's like trying to kick mud.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you, I wanted to find out the gender. Well, I already knew, but I'm like, you know, that validation. And then Kiara wouldn't cooperate in my scan either. So it's like, yep, surprise on the day. Same thing.
I think I remember such a nice thing too, though, you know, it's like just really it makes you tapped into your child more when you don't know their sex, but you do. And then when they're born, it's like, I am really connected to my child. Yeah. It's like I felt that. Yeah.
And I remember, so even though this is not like a thing about Kiara in the spirit realm just yet, it's like leading up to that. So when she was about 4 months old, put her down for a nap, and you know they used to have those anti-roller things that you put on the sides of them. So I put her down, and she sort of seemed to nod off pretty quickly, and I come and sat in the lounge room, and then, like what we were talking about before, the instinct, I just had this weird sensation, like an urgent quick go check her. And I went in there, and she'd rolled over, and she was like, her head was in the pillow, so she couldn't lift it up. She was like suffocating basically. So I quickly picked her up, and she just like took a big breath and then started crying, and I was like crying with her because I'm like, oh my God, because instantly you go to all of the negative
the what
things that could have happened. I said, but you know, my guides and my senses, and maybe it was Kiara's energy going, help me. Yeah. And just it was one of the scariest but amazing things, you know what I mean? Because it's like,
because it's like you don't just ignore that.
No, usually I'd be like, yes, now I get peace and quiet and I can have a nap maybe. Yeah. But it was like, no, just within minutes.
That's so interesting. Like, this just kind of I don't know, like connected dots for me. Like, I know we're talking about our kids, but it just reminds me of that incident. Like, my very first memory ever is almost choking to death as a baby on the blinds. Yeah, on the blinds in my cot. And it was the same thing, you know, where mum was downstairs and she just had this urgency, go and check on Kel. And I was literally hanging by the throat of the cord on the blinds. So it's
That's
like,
wild, eh?
yeah, like that kind of mother's instinct of just, I need to go and check on my kid, like right now they're in danger. And, you
Or
know,
is it the
it's
kid
not rational.
elevating their energy to their mum? Because we've
Yeah.
got that spiritual
Yeah, the
connection. You've
connection.
grown them.
And
That's
there's
why you're always sort of
no
in sync and you
questioning
kind of know.
it. You know, it's just like I need to, like there's no logic behind it. It's like
Oh,
they're not crying or like there's no sounds, but I have to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
That's
because they're almost
interesting.
dying.
Me and Kiara, yeah, again, like
Oh
similar.
my God, yes, I didn't
Yeah.
even think of that. You and Kiara with the
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
deaths
I
when you were
never
little.
thought of that till
Jesus.
right now. Like that connection.
Exactly, me too. Click.
It's
See,
crazy.
never
Like,
stops.
yeah, that's like my first memory ever. Or is
Oh,
me almost
Jesus.
choking to death. I
I wonder how
remember.
old you were then.
Yeah, mum said, yeah, I was in a cot at Minto, so you
I
know,
actually can see
really
it. Like
little.
I can remember your room, like where you were,
Yeah, I
like
remember.
all of that stuff. But like you must have been like under one,
Yeah, and that's why
like
now,
one and
you
a
know,
half ish.
the blinds they're connected to the top and the bottom of the window now, and they have the warning on there to
Yeah, they've
say
got the
choking
safety thing now.
hazard and all that.
Because clearly other
Back in the
little
80s,
souls didn't make it.
yeah, back in the 80s, it wasn't a thing.
That's it. They can think about it that same way. Yeah, wow. I didn't even
No,
put
I
those
never.
two together either, even though
Me
you
either.
always have a lot of things in common.
Yeah. Well, there you
That's
go.
wild. I think
And so, Jo, when Kiara was like a little bit older, she started seeing spirits
yeah.
too. So when
So
you were younger, you were like around 3, 4 years old when you had your imaginary friend Tammy, who
yep.
Mum and Nan said was like not real, but now you know that it was probably a spirit that you were seeing. So
Yep.
Kiara sort of like started seeing stuff too
She
quite young,
did.
didn't she?
She did. So it was like family members that had
Mm.
passed away. We went to America. That's where her dad's from. And she met and just instantly loved and connected with his uncle Buddy.
Mm.
And she was when's the first time we went to the US? So she was
So like
three
same
or
age as,
four.
yeah, you
Oh
when you
yeah, same
started
as me
seeing
actually.
spirits, yeah.
Yeah, because it was 2008. When we got home, it was like a few weeks later, we found out that Uncle Buddy passed away.
Mm.
And obviously it was super sad. And Kiara, like, that was our first conversations about people leaving the planet. You do it at a kid-friendly level.
Yeah.
But the way that we explained it was, that I explained it was just that, you know, because she had a connection with the stars as well. So I just said, "Oh, Uncle Buddy, he's not on like the Earth anymore. His heart stopped working, and now he's like up in the stars, and he's looking down, and he's always gonna like be looking out for you." And she was like upset, but she was like, "Oh, that's good that he's always going to be around." And then I remember, I don't know how long after, it was like within a couple of days or something, she was out in the lounge room and she's having a good old chat and watching cartoons. And I go out and I'm like, "Hey, doll, who are you talking to?" And she's like, "Oh, it's Uncle Buddy." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, where is he?" And then she's like points like where she is, and then she puts her arm around him. She's like, "We're just watching cartoons." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice. Hi, Uncle
That's so
Buddy."
sweet.
And he's like, she's like, "Can you see him?" I said, "No, I don't get to see him." I go, "You've got magic gifts." I said, "So you get to see some things that I don't all the time and not other people get to." I go, "How special is that?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's really good." She wasn't
Yeah.
scared. She just
No.
was like liked the energy. She knew who he was. And he'd come and visit and she'd talk to him in the room and stuff. And then she started then picking up like my pop, who obviously passed away when I was young, but I'd be in the room with her and she goes, "Oh, Pop's here." I
Yeah.
go, "What?"
So she recognized him from pics
The
that you had of him?
photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I go, "Which Pop?" And she goes, "You know, your Pop that died." And I go,
That's so
"Oh." And she's like,
trippy.
"Poppy Paul." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Did
thanks,
she
Mama."
say that? Poppy
Yeah,
Paul.
Poppy Paul.
Wow.
Oh, that reminds me. I should tell you about this one. So even
It's like
before
every
she
episode we have something I haven't
a new
heard before.
epiphany. You might have heard it because it's kind of like amazing. So her actual no, that wasn't her first experience. Her first one was when she was 6 months old, and we were at Nan's house with
Oh,
Mum, and she's
I do
crawling
remember
around,
this.
right? And so you know, you're 6 months old. You can say Mum, Dad, Bub,
Mm.
Nan, maybe. I don't really remember, but she's crawling around. Then she comes into the kitchen, and she points, and she's like, "Frank." which
And
is Dad's dad.
Frank is our grandfather on my dad's
Yeah,
side.
yeah. So he's a black fella from Casino, New South Wales, and like he's been gone before me. Like I
Yeah.
didn't get to meet him either. So, but I know who he is, and so Kiara's just pointing in the corner, and she's like Frank, and I'm like, huh?
And Nan.
And I pick her up, and I'm like, what, darling? And she's pointing, and she's like Frank, and smiling up. And
Yeah.
Nan and Mum
Nan
look at
freak
each
out.
other. Nan's like, you know who Frank is, don't you? You know who Frank is? I'm like, yeah, it's her granddad. And she's like, yeah. Like, it's been great having you visit, but you need to fucking go
Time to
and take
go
your
and
spirits with you.
take your grandfather.
It's like, Frank, I love you, mate, but
Yeah,
you've got to go home.
that's so
Take Frank
cute.
with you.
It's
Yeah,
so
that was like the
funny,
wildest experience.
especially because she's so young and it's not like her vocabulary is extensive.
No, yeah, so she could see him straight away, but that was actually, even growing up in a family that doesn't really talk about spiritual stuff, that was the only thing that they would always accept. Remember?
Yeah,
Pointing in
ghosts.
the corner, talking to a spirit, going, "Oh yeah, that's probably your family. They're here.
Yeah,
They're looking after you." So that was kind of the common one in our family. But
yeah,
yeah, that just reminded me. 6 months old. God, I forgot. How could you forget that? That's amazing. And
yeah,
then obviously when Nan did pass away, because Kiara was really close with her, um, I remember she just started kindy,
mm,
and she come home from school, and so Nan and her used to call each other Pixie
yeah.
as their little pet names, and she'd go, "Oh, Pixie came to school today." And I go, "Oh, did she? Like, how did she visit you?" And she goes, "Oh, like a fairy." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So she had wings and she was little. And she goes, "Yeah." And she was with her mum,
Yeah.
Louisa.
Oh, what? She
Yep.
even
And I'm
said
like,
Nana Murray's
Nana
name.
Murray's name. Yeah. And I'm like,
Wow.
holy shit. And then,
So you can't deny,
nah,
like, she would
Louisa.
never know that's her name, and that's an ancient name.
I
No
know.
offense,
Because
Nana
we've got an
Murray.
Auntie
Yeah,
Louise,
Louise,
but Louisa is the grandmother.
Louisa, and she wouldn't have known that Nana
Nope.
Murray's name and that it is Nan's mother.
Mum. Yep. And I said, "Oh, what were they there for?" And she goes, "Oh, she come to tell me to tell Nan that everything's going to be all right, not to be sad."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh." And I said, "Oh, so how did you talk to her?" And she goes, "Well, I knew other people couldn't see them because they were little fairies, like flying near me, talking to
Hmm.
me." She goes, "So we were just talking with our minds."
Yeah, that's amazing. So she was
So
5.
yeah, she was five or
Yeah.
six then. But that's been something, she's had stuff over the years, but like since she was really young. But I just encouraged it, told her that's a special gift, and that, we're very lucky that she can do that. Not everyone can, and just
Yeah.
make her feel safe and comfortable.
And so Jo, as she's gotten older, now that she's 18, does she see anything now? Like we haven't really spoken about that too much.
Well,
I know that she can see like, colors for healing within a body, but is she seeing actual spirits walking around?
she doesn't want to
Yeah, not
anymore, because
ready
she
to.
had
Yeah.
she had an experience when we were back in Sydney,
Mm.
where someone who wasn't family came to her,
Oh,
and she didn't like it. It was a
yeah.
little boy, and she's like, "I don't know who he is." So I said, "Oh, he's probably just, here because he knows that you can see people, and maybe he wants to talk to you." And she goes, "I don't like it." And I said, "Well, this
Mm.
is what you do." And so then I taught her how to do protections with energy, and tell them, that they're not welcome in our space, and how to protect herself so she doesn't see them. And then from that moment, she always slept with a night light.
Mm. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. I mean, it
so
is
now she
like
doesn't really see
scary.
them,
Yeah.
doesn't see
But
them, but
she's
she feels
chosen
and
to.
knows stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if in a couple of years she'll kind of like
Down the
be
track.
interested again and want to like open up to
Well,
that.
she's still
Um,
very open to like spiritual stuff. She doesn't want to see things, but she has a knowingness. She's got like a really ancient soul and knowingness, and she'll just, she teaches me more than I could be teaching her.
Oh
But
yeah, I
I'm
know
open to
that
it.
Kiara, like I just, it's like she's as old as like the universe. That's the
Oh,
vibes. And
that's what we've
she
been told too.
Yeah, she was definitely like your mother in the past life,
Mm-hmm.
like your recent
Mm-hmm.
past life, most recent. So now the dynamic has shifted and yeah, so she educates you because that was what she was used to. That was the dynamic.
That's it. And we're healing together. We're healing intergenerational trauma, and like
Yeah.
just tapping into our own inner wisdom. And it's like, I'm just happy that she's got the space and
Mm. And
you know,
because, you know,
to do that herself.
she's a Pisces, so she's very reserved and likes her own space and, you know,
Oh
is
yeah.
very quiet, and she needs somebody to advocate, you know, for her and to make her not feel like an outsider and an outcast, and, you know, for you to be that person who's like, yeah, like that is very normal. Like it's not weird that you could see spirits when you're a kid, and yes, this is, you know,
Yeah,
everything's
she's super
fine.
tapped into. She's like you, Kel. She's like real high level consciousness.
Yeah.
She feels
Yeah, yeah.
so much more of the global stuff than I do.
And I know that
Um,
she's you know, Lemurian like me too. Like I've
hmm
already had these kind of downloads. I haven't tapped into it
yeah,
much because I know that she's not ready for any of that sort of stuff yet, but I
no,
definitely know that she is of the same as
oh
me.
yeah, 100%. So what sort of stuff did our little man Cohen? What did you have any like spiritual experiences when he
Yeah.
was little, or did he have
Well, for
stuff
us,
happen?
you know, it's actually more of a negative turn because
Yep.
you know, his dad had like a
Oh,
spiritual attachment to him.
I remember.
It followed him back from the Northern Territory. He was there. And yeah, so that spirit was an angry spirit, and it was in our apartment for a long time, and it actually used to sort of torment Cohen. I would go into his room sometimes and he would have scratches on him. And I remember
It's
once, like
freaky.
there was this we used to have this framed, it was like the cutout of his name, and in the name we had like pictures of like SpongeBob and Jimmy Neutron, like his favorite cartoons, right? So it was this quite
Hmm
heavy frame with wooden frame, and so it had come off the hook over the bed and onto the floor. Like it didn't make sense. Like it should have, if it fell, number one, the hook wouldn't still be attached to the wall, right? Number
Yep.
two, it would have just fallen on the bed.
Yep.
It didn't do either of those. It was like face up on the floor away from his bed. And I don't, just weird stuff like that would happen around him. And so there was this one time, like it was kind of, you know, we got to that was the boiling point where it was scary because we were like, he was having a bath and I was like,
Mm.
you know, I was just getting his clothes together or something. And he like sort of shouted out because he was in pain and he had this scratch across him that was visible. And for me, that was it, where I'm just like, no, we need help, because
Yeah.
I was trying to do what I could do, you know, with my limited knowledge back then,
Yep.
of, you know, just saging the place out, you know, trying to clear the energy. It would go away for a little bit and
hmm
then it would come back. But it seemed like I would be making it angrier, right? Like you were
Yeah.
at our apartment, you felt how it is. It was
Oh
like
yeah.
such a dark energy, taunting energy. And I always felt terrible because, like, where my son's bedroom was, like, he was the only one in this upstairs area. And so the staircase to go down from the bedroom, at the top of the staircase, when I would leave him there, I could feel this spirit at the top of the stairs, kind of like taunting me, being like,
Yeah. Standing over
yeah,
you.
yeah, like leave him up here. And, you know, oh, it's just
Ugh. Ugh.
horrible. And you know, because it
Yep.
visited you when you stayed at my place, it came
Oh
down to
yeah.
like trying to staunch you
In
out
your
to your
face.
face.
Yep.
Yeah, like it didn't. And we would see it out the corner of our eye up on, you know, like the split level, just
Yep.
staring
It
over us,
was an
intimidating.
angry mother.
Yeah, it was horrible. And so what we had to do, like we had to call in, you know, proper help from, you know,
Our elders,
yeah, elders like Uncle
Uncle Max.
Max Eulo here in Sydney, to do a smoking ceremony of our apartment to clear it, because we couldn't do it ourselves. Like it was very
No.
aggressive. And thankfully, you know, my son's pop, he had contacts with him. He knows Max, and so he could come and clear it out for us. And it was such a crazy
Yeah, it was wild.
it was like, you know, I actually, that's the first time when I've ever seen an actual ball of energy, like was when that was cleared out. I seen it come, it shot, you know, from like upstairs down through like where I was sitting in the lounge room, and it actually made the blind
Move.
swing. Yeah. And then it was gone. And it
Did it
was
have a
like,
color, Kel?
it was white. It was a bright white round
Yep.
light. It was like, yeah, and that
Wild.
it spun me out because I haven't ever seen it like
Seeing stuff.
that. Yeah. And so because as well I saw the blind move when I had seen it hit it, and I saw
Yeah.
the blind move. So I'm like, I know it's not in my
Confirmation.
head. And then it was like peace. Like when that left our house, it was
Oh,
so still and quiet, and like we all had, the most beautiful night's sleep and everything was
ah,
fine. It like that's what it needed. It needed an actual blackfella ancestor to send
to
him off. And it
listen.
had to be at this particular time of the early evening, Uncle Max
Yep.
said, to go out with the at
Yep.
dusk.
Down
And
with the
so
sun.
because he did it, yeah, all properly, and that's what the spirit needed. He needed to be farewelled in traditional blackfella way. Yeah.
Thank
And that,
God for ancient. He was able to
yeah,
have a chat
healing
and
and
cleanse your
yeah.
space because yeah, that was scary
It
shit.
was really a full on time for us. It was like
Oh
very
yeah.
chaotic. And because it was attached to my son's dad, it would bring his mood down and like affected him like in
Yep.
that way as well. It wasn't just, okay, like things feel a bit off here. It was like, yeah, full on experience.
Full
And
body.
so, since then, my
How
son,
old was Cohen? Did you say?
oh, under 5. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing the scratches and stuff. That's the stuff where
Yeah.
you're
It's
like, okay, fuck
terrible.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is not good.
Like when it
Out.
touches your kids like that,
Nah.
something you can't see, it's
Yep.
terrifying, and you can't do
Yeah.
anything. Like all the tools that I was using, it was helpless.
Thank God for
So
our elders
oh,
being
I
able to
know.
cleanse that
And
out.
also the fact that, okay, when we went to, Cohen's pot with this, he believed us
Hmm.
straight away. And he's like,
Straight
and
up.
took it serious, right
Oh,
away. He's like,
100%.
we need to sort this out right now, because it wasn't a game. And he knew that
No,
it was,
black
yeah,
fellas
black follow
stuff. That's what
stuff.
I mean.
And it's men's business too. Like I couldn't
That's
clear it.
right.
It was an
Nope.
angry male spirit, and he
Yep.
just didn't care about
Nope.
what I had to try. He
So
didn't stop
uh,
him.
yeah, Uncle Max helped him
Yeah.
move on. Out
Yeah,
he went
thank
with the
God.
when the sun went down.
And so, since then, like Cohen has been just very open to all kinds of spirituality and just, interested in either talking to ghosts, seeing ghosts, but also, the angelic realm of like he'll talk to Archangel Michael and like get protection from Angel Michael, because that's what I taught him. And he's
Yep.
seen Archangel Michael's energy before. Like he's the one who said to me, "Oh, I seen this blue light." And I never told him before that's how Archangel Michael, can appear to people. And,
Yeah.
so he had seen that before I even confirmed with him that it was Archangel Michael. And so every night, yeah, he like does protections and, thanks the elders and does all of that sort of stuff, because I have just made our space a place for that, for to explore different kinds of spirituality, and not just
Be
spirituality,
open.
like religion as well, like I talk to him about like the Bible or the Quran, and just different kinds of like things that are interesting, and like
Hell
I want
yeah.
him to have an open mind about everything. So, we always have discussions, and I love like, he'll come out into the lounge room and we'll like sit here and talk for, a good hour or two just about like why the world is the way it
The
is,
way
and
it is.
time and
Down
how
the rabbit
everything
holes.
exists and the universe and like the quantum and
Yep.
timelines and all this sort of
They're just
stuff. So it's like,
amazing.
yeah, I just want him to have like a breadth of knowledge about all things, and
All the
for him to feel
things.
comfortable, like exploring and, not feeling that he can't come to me with anything. Like at the moment, I told you earlier, Jo, that he
Yeah.
is wanting to fast for Ramadan.
Oh,
And I'm like,
Ramadan.
okay, that's beautiful. Do what you want. I'll support you. And, it's like we aren't religious, you and I. It's like that isn't our path, but I'm here to just encourage him to explore what his path is. And, I've done my own research into the Quran, and I think it's like, Muslims, they're beautiful people. It's a beautiful religion. So I'm like, okay, if that's what you're exploring and reading and researching, then cool. If you want to learn about crystals, then cool, I'll teach you. It's like I
Yeah, it's
feel
like
like that's
everything's
a
got
good thing that
wisdom.
we have. Yeah, where it's like we encourage them to follow their
Resonate.
own
That's
path
right.
and give them permission to explore everything. Like we don't want to kind of filter their existence. So it's like, oh no, well, I'm spiritual, so you're only allowed to do this, and you're a black fella, so you shouldn't be looking at anything other than indigenous beliefs. And
Yeah.
like that's not us at all. Like we don't
It's the
restrict their learning.
that's it. The world is there to explore, and like all religions and like everything that's out there, the underpinning stuff is always about love and being a good human and being kind and caring. So
Exactly.
whichever way people resonate, like I'm all for it. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's
whatever
like
works for you.
And at the
Just be
end
a
of the
good person.
day, yeah, it's all about love. Like you said, we come from love, from pure source. And it's like how you act in the real world with people with love and kindness, and just don't be a dick.
Yeah, just be open. Like, you can grow up with a certain thing, but you still be open to conversations and other people's
Yeah.
experiences. And I think we've
Be
been really
willing to
lucky because
listen and
our
learn.
kids,
Mm,
they're like, mate, this generation in general, even
yeah.
like our niece, who's a year older than Kiara, but like they're
Yeah.
just so aware.
Advanced. Yeah.
They're super, super, super advanced. They have the knowledge, the knowing, and they
And they
just
just
go,
know. Yeah, they just know
they
that
just know.
certain things where it's like you feel like an idiot for even saying it to them because they're like, I know.
Like, oh no. And they say it with, teen angst, but
Yeah,
it's
but
more
it's like
like, oh, this
you
is so
know
old and
that
boring.
they know too,
Yeah.
you know? It's like you don't have to second guess or whatever. And it's like the thing as well, like with Cohen and his friend group, like they're just such good kids and they're so caring towards each other and so compassionate and just more like that toxic masculinity is disappearing for that generation.
Oh God, yeah.
So,
They're
I'm
about
just
uplifting each other.
yeah, I'm so hopeful for the next generation of men who like they're going to honor women and step into their divine masculine and hold up the divine feminine in a way that is empowering and not shutting people down and
Yeah,
suppressing
balanced.
people anymore. Like that's what I want for my son as well, is like to making sure that it's all right to cry, it's all right, like all,
To be
all of the
human.
old traditional kind of manly man thing. Like I want
Nah.
that to just not be a thing for him.
No, it's just be a
And
kind
it's
human.
yeah, but the thing is I haven't even really had to enforce any of that. It's
No,
just
he's
natural.
already that.
Yeah, like he's
He's
so
already
kind
that.
and gentle and thoughtful. His friends are all that, and they're just like they're just really good
they're
kids.
just they're all just so awake and aware and different. Like even from my generation, from mum and dad's, like I could tell in my friend group we had all different nationalities, and like with the Ramadan stuff, I used to hang out with heaps of Lebanese lads, and when they're going through theirs, like we'd ask each other like, oh, so how come you do this? And
Yeah,
just like as they're going, oh
inquire.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can't have any food like when the sun's up, and we
and
can't do
food
that. I'm
and
like,
water.
wow, like that's such dedication. I said, so is that like
Yeah,
to like feel more connection to like your religion, like, and then they explain that stuff, and then they'd ask me about Aboriginal stuff, and I'm like, see, it's just about sharing and caring, but they're not
yeah,
trying to tell me that their way is the only way. It's just what's right for them.
yeah, and
They
it's just
accept that my way is right for me, and we still all
sharing info.
appreciate each other.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's like just all about being kind to everybody and loving
Yep.
everybody
Love,
and
elevate the energy and the
being a
earth
good
with love and
person.
healing vibes.
But I feel like,
But
this generation of kids that are coming through are, the
super
change
special.
makers of the world. Like,
God, yeah.
every generation has played their part. And so when our kids are the ones running the world, it's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be a very different type of world, that's for sure. Like I've
Yeah.
never really understood, like how they do crystal children, rainbow kids. I
Mm,
don't really know about that stuff, but
yeah.
I feel and know they're very different.
Yeah.
Like we've been laying foundations. Like I feel like I was always a foundation of stuff. You've elevated. You've got a different experience, and you've been able to lift the world in a different
Mm,
way. And then the next gen, our
yeah.
kids, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait.
Yeah, and we've been able to create safe spaces for them to feel like they can do that. So everything's a learning lesson. I don't regret any of the stuff I've gone through because
No,
it's
makes you who you
it's
are.
exactly, and we can talk about stuff now, and like we've got amazing kids, and that's where the world's heading. We just need to not live in fear, listen to ourselves, whichever way it's going to go, and support each other, especially the kids. They're their own person.
Yeah.
Don't try and change them. Let
But
them be who they are.
they're confident enough that you need to listen. Like, yes, they're young in age, but in wisdom
Knowledge,
and in their
wisdom.
soul, they're not. They're
Nah.
older than us.
Their atoms are super aligned to the beginning of the universe. We're more disconnected. We're coming back into it.
Yeah,
So they're already there.
we're reawakening our DNA, but they were born like that. They know what they're talking about.
That's it.
And
So
that
question.
generation as well, they're the more entrepreneurs. They don't want the nine to
Oh,
five. They want to do their
yep,
own thing, and that like they're confident in that because they know like this isn't for me. I don't want that old matrix, that old paradigm. I'm gonna do what I
yep.
want to do.
And we're
And we
we're
need to just
supporting them
be there for them.
100%.
Yeah. Just
We're
like,
like, yep, this is not for you. You go find your way, and I'll
yeah.
support you.
And we'll
And it
figure
actually
it out.
helps me to push me out of my boundaries to not
Yeah.
to go forth on my pattern and journey as well. So
Exactly. So
it's a
I'm like,
two-way street.
you dream big and I'll dream right next to you and we'll make
Yeah,
it
I'm
happen.
dreaming bigger too with you.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. That's what I always just say.
Uh,
We'll figure it out.
that's it. So other people can let us share their experience about any sort of stuff that's happened around their pregnancies or naming
Yeah.
of their kids,
Or if
their
their kids
spirit
have,
journey.
yeah, like, especially if they've told you about a past life experience, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's wicked.
Anything like that.
Share, please share. And we'll catch
Yes.
you on the next episode, Pod
Yes.
Peeps.
Thank you for listening. This podcast has been made with love from our hearts to your ears. Thank you for listening to Cosmic Connections 101.